in the world does a bulimic, alcoholic woman end up publishing a book about style and manners?
You guys, I'm here with Laura Martella.
Author Laura Martella is here.
Meet Gentleman Norman and Laura Martella.
And become a leading clean food expert, teaching people to change their lives through the food they eat. My answer?
Still. You see me fly, you know they'll never catch me for it. See me fly, the way I put my finger on it. See me fly, you got it.
It's the power of God's grace.
The wrong guy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to my podcast. I'm Laura Martella. Here is where we talk about all things health, hope, and gratitude. And I am so honored to have my dear friend and entrepreneur. What else can I say about Jaime Foster? She is the founder of Georgia Grinders. She's also in my Bible study. She also has a Pomeranian named Ollie. And we have just developed the sweetest friendship in such a short amount of time. So welcome, Jaime.
Thank you, Laura. What a sweet introduction. And I feel the same about you. You're just a gem and a dear friend. And I'm grateful to be here today and honored that you chose to speak to me on your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to say, just reminiscing about how I reached out to you and how much I respect you as a businesswoman. I did reach out to you because I am a fan of Georgia Grinders. I discovered it in 2018 living here, and St. Simon's has come a little further with healthy brands, but I discovered Georgia Grinders and loved it. And then when I moved back here in 2022, I got your number from a friend, and I did call you because you were Georgia Grinders. I just wanted to meet you. But what I love, and this is how you do business. I think business is about communication, direct communication. And so I think you texted or said, I'm sure you're looking for sponsorship or something, and I'm not in a position at this moment. I'm not looking for sponsorships. And I said, no, I'd just really like to meet you. And so I love that you were direct. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I remember this conversation vividly, and I felt guilty, but I wanted to at least set the expectation that I would love to meet you. And I realize you're a clean food expert, and if you're looking for sponsorships, it's just not in the cards right now. But hey, let's meet and talk. And thank goodness we did, because it's turned into a beautiful friendship.
I know, and I learned from you because you were a sales rep before, right?
Correct. I was in medical sales for about 15 plus years before founding Georgia Grinders.
And I really respect your corporate ways. And I learned from you because I have not been corporate. I am a by accident creative entrepreneur. And I just love having you in my life. I want to know. And so when we met for coffee, it was instant because, like I said, we have our Pomeranians, but also we go to the same church, which y'all, one of the things I love about living here on St. Simon's Island, when you meet people, we always, in the conversation, it's like, where do you go to church? And that is the sweetest thing. After moving from Los Angeles, it's so refreshing to me. And I love that we have the church in common. Then we ran into each other at Bible study. And just thank you for being my friend and being in my life.
Well, I can't thank you enough either. The feeling is mutual.
And I hope we continue this tradition, but we go out to dinner for each other's birthdays.
Of course, we're going to continue that.
I love, love, love it. And we have
birthday
our
queens.
We have, I know, and we have our coffee dates, and you're somebody I can just go there with. And I just adore you. So thank you.
Well, like I said, I feel the same, and just really look forward to seeing where this friendship goes throughout the years. And super proud of all the accomplishments that I've seen you tackle over the past year and a half too. So this is your
Oh.
year to shine, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. Thank you. And you're going to be there when I get baptized.
Absolutely.
Getting baptized. And that means the world. So thank you, Jamie. So, what I want to know is, how did this come about? Like, take us from the beginning, what you were doing and an idea. How did Georgia Grinders happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's a lot of layers that go into Georgia Grinders. But for starters, I've always had a general interest in health and wellness. I've always loved cooking. I've always loved entertaining. So experimenting in the kitchen and making different recipes and trying to find healthier versions of sugar laden, fat laden recipes has always been a passion of mine. I've always just sought to live the healthiest life so that I can feel my best. And, of course, what we knew as healthy back in the 70s and 80s is totally different than what's considered and defined as healthy today. But it's all about feeling good so you can thrive and be alive in this one life that we've been blessed with. And, so a little bit, about me and just my general interest in health and wellness. But to take it a step further, my grandfather, he was predisposed to cardiovascular disease. Both of his brothers passed away in their early 50s. And essentially, he looked at what the doctors had prescribed for his brothers and said, well, that didn't seem to work. I'm going to go about it a different way. And my grandfather was an engineer by trade. So, of course, he was always going to find a better way to do something.
What was his name?
Jim Hinsdale. So Jim Hinsdale, and he lived in Scottsdale, Arizona at this time. In fact, the majority of his life, he was in Scottsdale. But he really started looking at diet and lifestyle as a way to conquer his predisposition to cardiovascular disease. And instead of following the doctor's protocol, he just really started, he actually started working with a functional medicine doctor back then, who is still—
What decade?
This was back in the 70s.
Wow.
And this doctor is still alive today. Her name's Dr. Gladys McCready. I believe she's about 102 years old and still lives in Scottsdale. But he started consulting with her and really learning about food being medicine, how to supplement for gaps in nutritional deficiencies, just really looked at things holistically, mind, body, spirituality, movement, reducing chemicals, all the things that we're being taught to do nowadays, he was doing back in the 70s. So long story short, he ended up living to be 97 years old.
Wow.
And, definitely attribute to his longevity to, the holistic approach he took to life.
Question. And how old was he when the doctor try to get him on medication, or he was getting ahead of the curve and just completely taking care of himself?
I'm sure he was, seeing cardiologists, started taking medications, just didn't feel well, and said, I'm going to take matters into my hands and approach this differently.
I love that.
So one of the things that he did when he started, just really cooking and experimenting with clean, whole foods, was making almond butter. And, it was a small percentage of what he actually made, but in my childlike mind, that's all my grandfather did was make almond butter. So
yes,
I would spend the summers with them in Scottsdale, and we're just going to make almond butter for the next month. So,
oh my gosh!
But he just started tinkering around with different varieties and types of almonds, the roasting process, the grinding process. How long is he going to roast it at 350, or if he switches the temperature to 400, how does that really affect the end product? But again, being an engineer, he was willing to do all the trial and error and the legwork to perfect this almond butter recipe that eventually became Georgia Grinder's first product.
Wow.
It was really cool. So again, it combines my love for health and wellness, but it's ultimately a tribute to my grandfather and his innovation towards health and wellness back in the 70s to, beat his odds for cardiovascular disease and live to be 97 years old.
And what were you doing when he passed? Was Georgia Grinders happening when he
Yes.
passed?
Yes. So we had been in business for a couple of years.
So he saw.
He did. He actually got to see us turn this into a business. And
Oh my God, I got chills.
he actually came to Expo West in Anaheim, which is one of the largest natural and organic trade shows that takes place every year in March. But my dad actually flew out so that he could bring my grandfather up to the trade show and wheel him in his wheelchair. And
Oh
we
my
all have our badges with the lanyard, and it said Jim Hinsdale, recipe creator. And we still have that lanyard and his badge that we hang in our office. It's
Oh
was a
my
really
God.
special moment for
That
him.
is so amazing.
So it was really special. And my grandfather was a businessman, and he knows that both my husband and I have very strong business intentions. And I I'm pretty sure that he knew that we wanted to be much larger than just a farmer's market, local type brand. So for him to actually see us there and on the arena floor with some of the larger brands out there, he knew that we were serious.
Oh my gosh. I want to say a couple of things while I'm thinking of it. Okay, number one, I always talk about the ripple effect. If you're taking care of yourself and you're doing things, don't underestimate the ripple effect it will have on your kids, your grandkids, your family, and what an effect your grandfather had on you. That's one amazing thing that I see. But the second thing is, I didn't say, and I want you to say, like Georgia Grinders, it's major. You're in Whole Foods. Tell us where. I mean, this is a big thing. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Where is it
We've been
sold?
very blessed. Georgia Grinders does have national and regional distribution. You can find us nationally in Kroger stores, regionally with Whole Foods, the fresh market stores. Let's see, Central Market, which is a large chain out of Texas that's owned by HEB, Sprouts, let's see, Publix, which is part of the local Georgia section. And then, of course, with, e-commerce and various platforms out there, we're all over the internet. And you, of course, can buy online too from our website.
Yes. Okay. So I interjected a little bit, but getting back to the layers of and how you started this, what was happening with you and how did you go from like the granddaughter to the founder of a brand? Like, this is a really interesting story.
Yeah. So it didn't just happen overnight. We had, again, my husband and I both have the entrepreneurial spirit, and we had always talked about buying businesses, starting businesses. And throughout the research process, we kept coming back to food. We didn't know what that looked like. Was that going to be a restaurant, catering? But never in a million years did I think we would be launching a CPG brand. And, and talking to others in the industry and talking about how you're constantly fighting for shelf space and, all the competition and the low margins, high volume, they really discouraged us from getting into this business. And somehow we just kept trusting our gut and went with it. And the best lesson and best advice that we were given was, if you're going to do it, make sure you have a great story to be able to share along with the product, because that's ultimately what's going to separate you from your competition. And that's where we started looking at our options, and the story with my grandfather, his almond butter, bringing something that was newer to the marketplace. Back in 2012, nut butters were not a thing like they are now in 2024. In fact, when we started talking about almond butter, nobody knew what it was. And you're having to
back in 2012.
It's peanut butter, but made with almonds and, talking about the health benefits, but people looked at you like you had 12 heads when you're trying to talk about almond butter. And of course, leaving a fairly lucrative career in medical sales, my friends thought I had lost my mind, that I was going to resign from corporate America and start making and selling almond butter, a product that no one's ever even heard of. But I knew deep down that, being able to talk about clean products that have a functional place in the world, and nutritionally, we're going to make a difference. And it's not just a spread like peanut butter, but something, being able to showcase my love for recipes and cooking. Let's talk about other ways that we can incorporate almond butter into the diet too.
I just sent one of your recipes to my clients this morning, the Cobb salad.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Well, and that's
Amazing recipes on Georgia Grinders.
and they range from sweet to savory. It's not just a spread that you're going to put on toast or eat with an apple and banana, which of course it's great if that's what you choose to do. But, everything from baked goods to sauces. I love Asian inspired sauces made with nut butters, of course, desserts. So the sky's the limit.
Y'all, sometimes if I'm in a food rut, I love to talk to Jaime we talk about food and we talk about supplements and tell us, I know we're going all over the place, but you have a lot of dimensions to you. And I know that you are getting your certification for functional.
Yeah, so I again, just my passion for health and wellness. I have taken a deeper dive into integrative health and actually have become a certified integrative health practitioner, and am working on level 2, which will allow me to take a deeper dive into the functional lab testing, so that you can truly, through objective data, identify nutritional deficiencies and help people.
This is something 100% that I believe in. It's what changed my life. It's how I eventually became a clean food expert, because I believe in treating the root cause and finding out what is going on and not treating the symptoms.
Yeah.
So I love that you're doing that. Big believer in it.
Thank you. Between big pharma and big food, unfortunately, they're not looking after our best interest and our health and wellness. And, I've seen that firsthand through my business, and that's, it's scary. And so if we can, the more people we can educate on just really focusing on, what you're eating, the ingredients that are in each product, the how it's actually being manufactured, and not just taking a pill to fix everything. It's so important. So
It really is. Well, we're going to take a break and we will continue this conversation when we get back. What in the world is a clean food expert, and why do you need one? Did you know that our government allows over 1,100 chemicals in our foods that have already been banned in Europe? They cause inflammation, they make you hungry, they give you brain fog, and they make you fat. My program addresses ingredients, and it's backed up with daily accountability. If you are confused and overwhelmed about what in the world you're supposed to do to get healthy and lose weight, visit cleanfoodexpert.com. I've got your back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Jaime Foster, the founder of Georgia Grinders, and my dear friend. So, Jaime, tell us a little bit about, so you started with almond butter, but now you've got, tell us more.
Yeah. So back in 2012, when we started, again, as I mentioned, we launched with almond butter as a tribute to my grandfather. But we were very blessed within that first year. Not only did we work at a lot of farmers markets where we had the opportunity to sample directly to consumers and get feedback, Whole Foods picked us up, and we really started seeing some traction and momentum with our products. And about a year later, in 2013, we were up in New York at Fancy Food Show, and nut butters were classified as one of the fastest growing foods in specialty foods for 2013.
Great timing.
So timing was perfect. Again, everyone thought I was crazy for quitting my job and launching an almond butter company. But we really were starting to see some traction, and the proof was in the pudding, and the momentum was there. And we started making other nut butters. Being in Georgia, the great state of peanuts and pecans, we looked into our backyard and thought, well, let's see what we can do with peanut butter, which is definitely one of the most crowded food categories out there. But again, trying to take a different approach to more of a clean product and not sugar laden or added oils. We thought, let's give the peanut butter a try, and started roasting and grinding peanuts. And we actually had to rebrand to Georgia Grinders at that point.
Oh, what was it before?
Yeah, rookie mistake. When we launched our almond butter, it was called Natural Almond. We rolled the natural and the almond into one word and called it Natural Almond. And of course, because we thought, why would we ever make anything but almond butter?
Right.
So, again, a rookie marketing
A pivot.
It was a rookie marketing mistake, and the rebrand forced us to think larger. What can we do under our brand, and what other areas can we start to produce? And so, keeping it simple, we are from Georgia and we grind nuts, and that's where Georgia Grinders came from.
Love it.
And that encompasses all of our nut butters, from almond butter, peanut butter, cashew butter, pecan, and hazelnut. But I would be remiss if I didn't share another story and another marketing failure. How you should never put all of your eggs in one basket and focus on one product. But in 2013 in California, that's where the honeybee colony collapse disorder was taking place. The drought was higher than ever in California, and the almond crop doubled in price.
Oh my gosh.
So that was another reason that
this was in 2013.
2013.
A year after launch.
Correct.
Okay.
And while nut butters are now one of the fastest growing food categories in specialty food, our one and only raw material just doubled in price. So again, that really forced us to look to see where we could diversify and expand into other relevant areas.
And I just want to say, on a spiritual level and a faith level, when we think it's a bad thing, we don't know what's going on, what God is doing. You know how we always say he never stops working, and he's doing something behind the scenes. So had that not happened, you might not have expanded.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. We would have
and
continued.
look at what you have.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, it was scary, obviously, going through it and thinking, what in the world are we going to do? We're a year into this. We've invested all of this money into our manufacturing equipment. We're growing. But it was, God promises us that all things good and bad work for the greater good. And sure enough, our raw materials doubling in price forced us to look into our backyard and start making other nut butters.
That is such an important story for any entrepreneurs, self-employed people out there. I do believe, and I deal with it. I mean, I'm selling clean food expertise in South Georgia. You know what I mean? But when we're authentic and we just know what our passion is and follow our passion and enjoy what we're doing on a daily basis, I think that shines through. And in the end, we know that God's going to take care of us.
Absolutely.
One way or the other. I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
Is this a good time for me to ask some of my
Absolutely.
questions? All right. So one of the things that I really want to know is, because I've heard, but I know that you know much more than I do on this process, but getting the USDA certified organic label or certification, can you just speak on that for a little bit and explain the process? Tell us about this.
Yeah. So there's a lot of positive and a lot of negative surrounding USDA certification. I think it's great for the consumer so that they can understand the transparency and the dedication behind the scenes. But of course, it comes with a price tag too. And so for us to be USDA certified organic, not only do our farmers have to be USDA certified organic, but also the sheller and the processor has to be USDA certified organic as well.
Mm.
And then ultimately the nut butter manufacturer has to be certified organic. So that's 3 layers of organic certifications right there,
Uh-huh.
which of course each certification comes with a price tag, which then ultimately the consumer has to pay,
Right.
based on the MSRP and the shelf price. I think it is important, especially with products that are not transparent when it comes to sourcing, but we personally know our farmers. We understand their practices, and not all of them can afford to be certified organic.
Mm.
So that is why all of our products are not ultimately certified organic.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just a lot of layers, but it's also a lot of paperwork that you have to do each year.
Who within the government does this? Like I talk a lot about the FDA.
Right.
Allows a lot of chemicals in our foods
Right.
that have already been banned in other countries. Is there a level of the government that does the certification,
So
or
the Department of Ag?
the Department of Agriculture?
There's
Okay.
actually certifying agencies that then come through. So for example,
Gotcha.
we work with Georgia Crop. They come in and they're our organic certifying agency.
Okay, got it.
So again, it's costly, but I understand the need for it.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that there are a lot of consumers that understand that many of the same farming practices are in conventional as organic.
Right.
And not everyone can afford the organic, but if they understand how things are being made.
And what I like about reading about Georgia Grinders on the website is also you have the relationships with all of your farmers.
We
and
do.
I think that's very important.
Yeah, we personally know the farmers from which we source all of our organic peanuts. It's the Georgia Organic Peanut Association. With our pecans, we source from a 5th generation pecan farmer in Fort Valley. We have personally visited the farms from which we source our almonds in California.
Wow.
While we've never been to the farms, in Southeast Asia where the cashews are grown, the supplier is top notch and fully transparent when it comes to farming practices and labor, etc.
I'm just sitting here and I'm sorry. I mean, I'm so impressed. Like when in 2013, when you decided to expand to other butters because of the almonds. So what did you call up a peanut farmer and say, hey, I mean how do you do that? And did you do it? Did you have a team?
Yeah. So we're very small. We're a small team of, 5-7 employees. And, typically anything with business development, I'm handling or my husband's handling. And so, you go to all these trade shows and you're meeting different brokers and suppliers. But again, being in Georgia, we've got a lot of great resources through Georgia Grown, through the University of Georgia, the College of Ag and the extension program there. There's tons of great resources to connect you with the right people and the right suppliers. So, but yeah, to answer your question, we did just start, asking for samples and then running R&D batches and testing the roasting process and the grinding process.
That is amazing. So your facility is in Chamblee.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Our facility's in Chamblee. We're in about 14,000 square feet now, and that's where all the magic happens. Everything from roasting to grinding to jarring, all the fulfillment, distribution takes place out of our facility in Chamblee. And when we first started back in 2012, that was our, kind of the big decision is what in the heck do we do and how do we make this product? And, the obvious solution, which most people defer to, is going to a co-packer. And for those that don't know what a co-packer is, it's a third-party manufacturer that's essentially taking your recipe and making it for you. And that really wasn't an option for us because there are not a lot of nut butter co-packers out there. And those that we discovered would require a full 8-hour shift to make nut butters, which would then yield, multiple pallets of product that we wouldn't be able to sell immediately. So
Right.
we had a better chance of leasing a small space, buying smaller commercial equipment, and just doing it ourselves so that we could control the product, control the shelf life, the freshness.
The quality.
And that, was a big risk to take on manufacturing ourselves, but it also allowed us to provide the freshest, cleanest product to our consumers.
I have got to say, I'm not just saying this because you're my friend, because actually when I discovered Georgia Grinders, I didn't know you. It is the best almond butter, peanut butter I have ever had. And I've had friends from California visiting here who always say, oh my God, this is and then they discover it. And so now they buy it, wherever they live. But it is actually the best.
Well,
I'm a big fan. And one of the things that I love that you all do it in your own facility, especially as a clean food expert and people that I, work with that also have extreme food allergies like me, cross-contamination. A lot of people are allergic to soy, and I'm so sensitive. I cannot have anything that has been processed in a dairy or a soy facility. So I absolutely love that. I mean, when your ingredients say nuts, peanuts, it's peanuts, right?
That's correct. For even all of our ingredients are very simple. It's essentially the nut with a touch of sea salt. We have a few different flavor profiles, but we have our manufacturing facility. We own and operate it. It's dedicated exclusively to nut butter manufacturing. And so for people that do have allergies like you do, you are extremely sensitive, and you could still buy a product that discloses ingredients of almonds and sea salt, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been made in a facility where thousands of other ingredients are being incorporated into tens of thousands of other brands. You just start to lose control, and cross-contamination is of greatest concern.
It's a big thing. And I learned this the hard way before I actually became clean food expert and started helping other people. But part of the reason why I'm so passionate is because had I had a clean food expert and accountability coach, I wouldn't have suffered for like 2 more years trying to figure out how to avoid these chemicals I'm allergic to. But I would grind my own almond butter, and I kept getting sick. I kept getting 3-day migraines. And I finally, started reading, and on the little tiny print at the grocery store, when you scoop out the almonds,
Mm-hmm.
it says processed in a soy facility.
Right.
It's like that. So again, just having the value system,
Right.
your values and standards, it's very important.
Well, and what I like to tell people too, when we used to get a lot of people telling us, "Oh, we'll just go to the store and grind our almond butter or peanut butter," like you were doing as well. And yes, that's a great option for many people, but you don't know how those nuts have been stored. They typically, if you look in the hopper, you'll see that they're smaller pieces, they're chopped, they're remnants. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. They're still safe for consumption. However, because of the size, I always tell people, look at them. They've been exposed. The oxidation process has started with them being smaller pieces. They've lost their moisture content, nutritional value. So when you actually grind it, it's always a lot harder and chunkier, and it also doesn't have as much flavor to it.
Well, that's why yours tastes
And
so good.
I explain to people again, there's nothing wrong with the nuts. They're just of the lowest quality available, and that is offset in taste and nutritional value. And at Georgia Grinders, we source premium nuts. And in fact, a lot of our suppliers think we're crazy for actually grinding them, but it makes a difference when you have the full almonds that has all of the skin on it, that doesn't have any chips or blemishes because the oxidation process has not started. It has not lost its moisture or any of the nutritional values, so that when you do go to roast it and grind it, you actually have essential oils that are released into the grinding process. And we're not having to add extra oil or sugars to mask an inferior flavor.
That makes so much sense to me. We're going to take a quick break and
Okay.
we'll be right back.
All
So interesting. Now I know why it's so tasty. As a clean food expert and wellness coach, I work in conjunction with doctors and nutritionists. Have you ever walked out of your doctor's office committed to following their suggestions, yet you get overwhelmed trying to buy the food, you mess up after about 3 days, and then you just give up? Well, that's why ingredients and my accountability program are going to help you follow your doctor's instructions. You get daily support with me. Hi, everybody. We are talking all things nut butters with Jaime Foster, founder of Georgia Grinders. Let's talk for a minute, because I'm really big on this, as you know, and shelf life. And, you know, I've been posting a lot of, or just resharing a lot of videos from a lot of influencers about how long a Chick-fil-A sandwich will last. And there was something else, chicken McNuggets. Like, nothing happens to them. You can just leave them out
For years.
for years. And so your product has a 1-year shelf life, which is, this is what you want, guys, when you're looking for food. It needs a shelf life. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So all of our products have a 1-year shelf life, and it's actually a 1-year best buy date. The good news is we don't add sugar, oils, no preservatives to any of our products. It's pretty much just the premium nut that we slow roast, grind, add a touch of sea salt, and then it's packed in glass, and then it has a 1-year shelf life. However, what I like to tell everyone, the FDA does require us to use a best by date or a shelf life. But that doesn't always mean that you can't go past that time period.
Okay.
You need to look at each product individually. So obviously, dairy is going to be different than a jam or a granola bar to a nut butter. But I'm going to speak specifically about nuts. If it's stored and handled properly, and you're not adding anything into it or double dipping or triple dipping and contaminating it in some way or form, theoretically, it can last longer than a year. You know, think about nuts in a refrigerator, for example, or nuts stored in a pantry, and they're 100% nuts with sea salt. If stored properly, they can oftentimes last for 1 or 2 years. So you want to keep that in mind. It can also go rancid after 3 months too, because sometimes the oils just, they turn and you know it's bad. But that's the good news with almonds and with with nuts and our product in general. If it tastes good, it's fine to eat. If it tastes bad and it's gone rancid, well, it's time to toss it.
And we know if it tastes good, it's fine to eat, because a lot of additives can make things taste good.
Right.
And they're really bad to eat, but because of all the extra crap they put in,
Right.
it tastes good.
Yeah.
Love that.
And again, you'll know, but I do have product from R&D, and you know, this isn't to go against your theory of the McDonald's chicken nugget lasting forever, but you know, to reiterate, we are not adding anything to our nut butters.
That's
no
a beautiful
no
thing.
preservatives, no sugars, no oils, nothing. It's just some nuts depending on how they're stored, can last longer than others and surpass that 1 year best by date that the FDA requires us to put on all jars.
Got it.
But like I was saying, we have stuff from our R&D process that might be a couple years old that I'll pull out from time to time just to test, so I can, communicate to consumers and just be more educated, and it tastes perfectly fine to eat.
That's great.
And that's, again, just it's the quality of nuts that we start with, the way that they're being stored and handled and ultimately processed into nut butter allows some of it to be maximized into 2 years.
And also, I love that it is in a glass jar.
Yeah, we're dedicated to, of course, providing a premium product to all of our consumers. And of course, that comes with a price tag, but the health benefits and the environmental benefits are numerous when you're packing in glass.
Yeah.
We had some challenges during COVID trying to get our glass jars, and almost was forced into purchasing plastic jars. And it was the last thing we wanted to do. Unfortunately, our supply of glass jars arrived. But
Oh, wow. I love these little tidbits about your journey.
that was definitely a scary time, because I just, there's so many issues with packing product in plastic, and the repercussions for health and wellness in our environment.
That's wonderful. I like Georgia Grinders even more after talking with you. So we have a few minutes left, and I want to tell us about let's talk a little bit more about certifications. And I know that you are kosher certified. There's there's like 8 labels on Georgia Grinders. I know they're not all certifications, but just educate us a little bit more on what to look for.
Yeah, I mean, again, Georgia Grinders is a premium product. We are the best of the best. We're fully transparent when it comes to sourcing, production, and the consumers that we are targeting care about this information. And we have gone through the process. We are non-GMO project verified. We do have a kosher certification, USDA organic. We are Whole30 approved, which is an actual certification that we've gone through. But then you have some additional ones, gluten-free, vegan, that we don't necessarily pay for those certifications because our products are inherently vegan or gluten-free. And that has to do with nuts and how our manufacturing facility is set up. We do routine lab testing so that we can show gliadin levels for gluten-free because that is important to many. Of course, those with celiac, we can, in fact, prove that. But nuts are inherently gluten-free. Of course, we don't add any sugars to any of our products, so we can be a no sugar added attribute as well. But certifications, you'll start to see so many pop up now, like keto certified or paleo certified, and they're great for consumers that don't know enough about the process or what it means to be a paleo product or a truly a clean product. So it is helpful, but I always advise consumers to be cautious with these brands that have deep pockets that can pay for all of these certifications, because ultimately you are going to pay for it on the shelf and you can still have poor quality ingredients.
And you can still be non-GMO or keto and still have a bunch of chemicals.
Exactly.
Which is what I teach.
Exactly.
Is, the certifications, I mean, they are legit certifications. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But a lot of times I consider them like marketing. It's marketing, but you've got to look at the ingredients.
Exactly.
Otherwise, so you're buying a non-GMO product. That's great.
Right.
But you're almost negating the benefit of a non-GMO product.
Right.
When you look at the other chemicals that you can't even pronounce that are in that product. So it can be misleading.
Very misleading. And that's, it's helpful for consumers as they're trying to undergo and learn on this clean eating journey, but it's very misleading. And once you do understand, what's going on, you can see all of the marketing mishaps and
Yes.
mislabeling, and that's truly unfortunate. A funny story: when we started making our peanut butter, and we put on the label, made with non-GMO ingredients, non-GMO peanut butter, the peanut farmers in Georgia went crazy because peanuts have never been genetically modified.
Interesting.
And they were so upset that we were even labeling it as non-GMO, because it is. It just discredited the whole peanut industry.
Oh, wow. That's
so
interesting.
Interesting there too. But, a lot of what we are, a lot of our ingredients they've never been genetically modified, but we're still having to pay to reaffirm that they're not genetically modified. And
Don't get me on a tirade.
Right.
I hear you. Yeah, I can understand those farmers. Like, we've never been non-GMO. Now we
Right.
have to say we're non-GMO when our practices have always been.
Right. But then you have retailers like Whole Foods, and, I can't even remember what year it was. Let's just say 2020, but it could have been earlier than 2020. It was required that any of Whole Foods products on their shelves had to be officially non-GMO project verified, which again, it's great for the consumer because they know exactly what they're buying, but so many of these products just had to incur additional costs to appease the retailer when many of the ingredients aren't even genetically modified.
Mhm.
So
That makes sense.
again, just a lot of layers, and hopefully it's educational as to why a lot of these products are so darn expensive too.
Mm-hmm. And they're worth it.
Right.
They're worth it.
They are worth it.
Wayne, can you hand us the jar? We can't get up from these mics and these cameras.
We're chained in.
Here.
But this is our original almond butter. So this is actually what we started with. This is my grandfather's recipe that, of course, has, as we graduated from our, home equipment to large commercial scaling equipment, there's slight variations in just how it's done and ultimately what is yielded in this jar. But this is it. This is the magic. This is the tribute to my grandfather, Jim Hinsdale, and
I love it.
his what allowed him to live to be 97 years old.
And he was really like a pioneer.
He
was ahead of his time, and the ripple effect.
Yeah.
There you go.
But you'll see on all of our jars, just, careful labeling, again, with all of our certifications and attributes, with the Whole30 approved, with kosher certification, vegan, gluten-free, all of our ingredients. Again, it's almonds and sea salt. You'll see that we're non-GMO, project verified. And of course, Georgia grown. We're members of Georgia grown too.
Well,
So-
I'm going to have some on my rice cake in a minute. I'm hungry. I didn't eat breakfast.
Well, and that's, I know one of the things we wanted to talk about too, that we didn't necessarily hit on, was more of just the nutritional content of
Let's
nut butters.
do that. Yes.
Nut butters actually are considered a fat source, but they do have protein and tons of vitamins and minerals on it as well. So when you pair it with something like a rice cake, it's those fats that are really going to keep you satiated, to give you that energy to go for hours in between meals. Nut butters are loaded. They still do have, they're loaded with all the healthy fats, but they do have protein, tons of vitamins, minerals, magnesium. Magnesium's a hot mineral right now.
Yeah, it is. It's having a moment.
Yes, it's had a glow up. And nut butters are loaded with magnesium. So just tons of nutritional benefits. And we actually have our 3-ounce resealable peanut butter pouches that are great for consumers to be able to take on the go. So many of these snacks that you buy, at airports or in gas stations, they're just chocked full of sugar.
There's
And-
not one thing at the airport that I could eat except for a banana.
You're right.
That's a banana. Everything else is loaded with stuff, and the Georgia Grinder little travel thing is genius. I mean, I fly with my own food.
Yeah, and so many do, and these 3-ounce pouches are great because they're TSA approved. They meet the requirement. Nut butters are actually considered a liquid, so you can't take them through security and carry on with them. We had so many people try to take jars in the past and we'd get these emails saying TSA took my nut butter away.
Mm.
So we created these pouches to meet TSA requirements under the 3.4 ounces.
Perfect.
They're resealable and they're great for traveling on the go and to be able to pair with apples or bananas or just eat directly from the pouch.
Directly from it. I just, in the mornings, I have to have a little something in my stomach before the gym. I eat it out of the jar.
Oh yeah, just
it's
by the
delish.
spoonful is definitely the way to go.
Well,
So
I just want to thank you so much for doing what you do, for joining me on the podcast, and for being my friend. Thank you so much.
well, thank you again for having me today. This was excellent, and I can't wait to see all that comes out of your podcast and your dreams, and be proud of yourself, Laura.
Oh, thank you so much. I love you, Jamie.
I love you.
Bye, y'all.
You know they'll never catch me for it.